Your yes will only be as effective as your ability to say no. Life often feels like a constant tug of war. You're pulled in every direction by work demands, family expectations, friends who always need a favor, and the quiet voice inside that whispers you're being stretched too thin. It's in these moments that many realize something is off. But few know what exactly is missing. The truth is, many people live with blurred lines between their responsibilities and those of others. They take on burdens not meant for them. They overextend, overcommit, and eventually burn out. Beneath their exhaustion is a profound lack of personal boundaries. Boundaries, in their simplest form, are the invisible lines that define where you end and another person begins. They protect your time, energy, emotions, and values. Without them, life becomes a free-for-all, and you end up being everything for everyone except yourself. Many people grow up with internal programming that says, "You're selfish if you don't help," or "It's wrong to say no." These beliefs, while often rooted in good intentions, quietly erode one's sense of self. As children, we learn to seek approval and avoid rejection. Unfortunately, that conditioning often continues into adulthood, making it hard to distinguish between love and manipulation. Consider a child constantly told to share, even when they don't want to. They learn that their desires are secondary. Fast forward to adulthood, and they may struggle to stand up for themselves, feeling guilt whenever they choose their well-being over someone else's convenience. Boundaries are not walls, they're gates. They let the good in and keep the bad out. Boundaries are not about isolation, they're about ownership. Think of your life as a garden. Your garden can only flourish if you fence it off, water it diligently, and protect it from intruders. If anyone can walk through at any time and trample your roses, you won't have much left to show. People often confuse love with unrestricted access, but real love respects freedom. It doesn't coerce, guilt, or demand. It gives space for individuality and self-care. Saying yes to everything comes at a price. Sometimes, that price is your health, peace of mind, or ability to pursue your own goals. When you're constantly putting others ahead of yourself, you begin to lose your identity. Over time, resentment builds, and relationships strain. You may notice signs like exhaustion without explanation, feeling guilty for taking time alone, a nagging inner voice that says, "You don't matter," difficulty expressing anger or hurt. These are not personality flaws. They are symptoms of boundary neglect. To be responsible is to own your choices, not carry someone else's consequences. Responsibility is a cornerstone of healthy boundaries. You are responsible for your emotions, your time, your actions, not someone else's happiness, success, or behavior. Once you grasp this, freedom begins to take root. It's not unkind to let others feel the weight of their own choices. In fact, it's often the most loving thing you can do. When you always step in to fix or rescue, you're preventing them from growing. There are several ways boundaries can go wrong. Some people have no boundaries at all. They say yes to everything, absorb everyone's pain, and lose themselves in the process. Others build walls instead of boundaries, shutting everyone out to avoid getting hurt. Then, there are people with inconsistent boundaries. Sometimes they're assertive. Other times, they're passive, depending on who they're dealing with. Each of these patterns stems from a lack of clarity about what is theirs to manage and what is not. Freedom doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from controlling yourself. True freedom begins when you take back the power you've given away. Power over your time, energy, and emotions. This doesn't mean becoming selfish or cold. It means honoring your limits so you can show up fully for what really matters. Healthy boundaries make you more loving, not less. They allow you to give without resentment, to love without losing yourself, and to connect without feeling used. Many people struggle with boundaries because they believe one or more of the following myths. If I set boundaries, people won't like me. Truth. The people who truly love you will respect your limits. Those who don't were only interested in using you. Setting boundaries is selfish. Truth. Self-care is not selfish. It's survival. Boundaries hurt people. Truth. Boundaries may disappoint, but they rarely harm. The real damage comes from unspoken resentment and silent martyrdom. I don't have the right to say no. Truth. Every person has the right and responsibility to protect their well-being. The first time you say no is the hardest. The second time, it becomes your superpower. When you begin to say no, you reclaim control over your life. The key is to do it with grace and firmness. You don't need long explanations or justifications. A simple, "I'm not available," or "I can't take this on," is enough. At first, you might feel discomfort. Guilt may creep in, but that's just the old programming resisting the new growth. With each boundary you enforce, you teach others how to treat you, and more importantly, how to treat themselves. Peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict. It comes from standing in truth. Emotions are messengers, not enemies. Yet, many people have been taught to silence them, to smile when angry, to serve when exhausted, to agree when everything inside screams no. The result is emotional confusion. You begin to doubt your own feelings, second-guess your instincts, and surrender your power in the name of keeping the peace. But real peace is never born in the absence of truth. It's birthed when you're able to say what you feel, honor your limits, and respect your needs without shame. Your emotions are yours. You are not responsible for how others feel about your truth, and they are not responsible for how you feel when they draw their lines. Emotional boundaries protect your inner world from being trampled by guilt, manipulation, or emotional blackmail. Too often, people tie their emotions to someone else's approval. They become people-pleasers, smiling to avoid confrontation, agreeing to be accepted, and losing themselves in the process. This is a recipe for silent suffering. You are not a garbage bin for other people's emotional outbursts. Setting emotional boundaries isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about recognizing that you don't have to carry emotions that don't belong to you. When someone lashes out in anger, you're not obligated to absorb their fury. When someone's unhappy, you're not automatically responsible to fix it. Guilt is the gatekeeper of unhealthy relationships. It's the emotion most often weaponized to keep you compliant. Statements like, "After everything I've done for you," or "You're being selfish," are often aimed at getting you to abandon your boundaries. But guilt isn't always a sign that you've done something wrong. Sometimes, it's just a signal that you're doing something new, something healthier. You must learn to sit with guilt without surrendering to it. It will pass. What stays is the freedom on the other side of it. Growth begins when guilt no longer dictates your decisions. Consequences are a fundamental part of healthy relationships. Without consequences, there is no accountability. And without accountability, boundaries are just suggestions. If someone continually disrespects your time, your emotional energy, or your values, and you keep letting it slide, you're silently teaching them it's okay. But when boundaries are backed by consequences, people start paying attention. For example, if a friend keeps calling you late at night, even after you've asked them not to, a boundary might be, if you continue to call past 10 p.m., I won't answer. If a sibling borrows money and doesn't pay it back, the consequence could be, I'm no longer lending money. These aren't threats. They're respectful decisions about how you will respond when your boundary is crossed. You're not trying to control others. You're controlling your access, your time, and your response. Love without limits leads to resentment. Boundaries keep love sustainable. Many people confuse helping with enabling. Helping is when you support someone's growth. Enabling is when you shield them from the natural consequences of their actions. Take the parent who always bails out their adult child financially. They think they're being loving, but they're robbing that child of learning how to manage money. Or the partner who tolerates lies or emotional abuse under the banner of forgiveness. They're enabling a cycle that will never break. Boundaries say, I love you, but I will no longer participate in your self-destruction. Sometimes, the most powerful act of love is stepping back and letting someone feel the sting of their choices. You can't change others, but you can stop enabling their dysfunction. Boundaries are not only about managing others, they're about managing yourself. You need internal boundaries to say no to your own impulses. Stop negative self-talk. Create structure and discipline. Delay gratification. Regulate emotions. A person with weak internal boundaries may constantly procrastinate, overshare with strangers, overeat, or let emotions dictate decisions. Internal boundaries give you the strength to tell yourself, not now, or that's not true, when your mind tries to sabotage your goals. Self-respect grows from self-discipline. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. Internal boundaries build that bridge. Maybe your boundaries were shattered long ago by trauma, abuse, neglect, or simply never being taught how to say no. The good news is, it's never too late to start building. Start small. Say no to something minor. Take 30 minutes for yourself. Speak up about how you feel without apologizing. Boundaries are built one decision at a time, and each time you honor yourself, you send a powerful message to the world. I am worth protecting. Healing may be slow, but it's sacred. Each step reclaims a piece of your identity. You may have been broken in the past, but you're not beyond repair. Boundaries are your blueprint for rebuilding. When you begin living with healthy boundaries, everything changes. You attract healthier relationships. Toxic people begin to drift away. Your confidence rises. You discover time you didn't know you had. Your stress decreases. People may resist at first. They're used to the version of you who always said yes, who absorbed their messes. But that version wasn't sustainable. You're not abandoning people. You're just showing up for yourself, finally. You are not responsible for other people's happiness. You are responsible for your boundaries. The journey toward boundaries begins inside. It's not about controlling the world, it's about mastering your own space within it. By choosing to say no where it's needed, and yes to what aligns with your values, you create a life of clarity, peace, and purpose. Boundaries aren't barriers. They are bridges, leading you out of guilt and confusion into a life of integrity, strength, and freedom. The people closest to you are the ones most likely to test your boundaries. That's why enforcing them is not just important, it's essential. Boundaries are simple in theory, but deeply emotional in practice, especially when applied to those we love. Whether it's family, romantic partners, or friends, setting boundaries in close relationships feels risky. You fear rejection. You worry they'll feel hurt. But remember this: love without respect isn't love. It's dependency, control, or fear masquerading as connection. Your most sacred relationships should not cost you your identity, voice, or peace. True closeness can only thrive when both people feel safe to say no, express their truth, and be respected. Family is where many boundary patterns begin. It's where roles are assigned: the peacemaker, the helper, the fixer, the one who never says no. These roles can follow you well into adulthood, keeping you stuck in dynamics that no longer serve your growth. You may have parents who are overly involved, siblings who guilt-trip you, or extended relatives who cross emotional or financial lines. Saying no in these scenarios feels almost like betrayal. But it's not betrayal. It's maturity. You are not responsible for keeping the family system afloat by sacrificing your well-being. Blood makes you related. Boundaries make you healthy. Setting boundaries with family might sound like, "I won't be attending every family event. I need personal time. Please don't comment on my life choices. If you raise your voice, I will end the conversation." These are not attacks. They are declarations of self-respect. You're not cutting ties. You're strengthening them by inviting relationships built on mutual respect. Love can be the most beautiful and the most blinding force. When you're in love, the desire to please, to give, to merge your lives is powerful. But without boundaries, love can dissolve into obsession, control, or emotional enmeshment. Healthy love says, "I choose you, but I do not disappear in you." In many relationships, one partner may try to overtake the other's identity, controlling decisions, invading privacy, or guilt-tripping them into submission. True intimacy, however, is not about control. It's about connection through autonomy. You can't be fully loved if you're not fully known. And to be known, you must be able to speak your boundaries. Real love honors freedom. If it needs to control, it's not love, it's fear. Boundaries in romance might sound like, "I need space to recharge." It's not rejection, it's self-care. "I'm not comfortable being spoken to that way." My goals matter too, and I won't abandon them to keep this relationship afloat. Love thrives in the soil of mutual respect. If a boundary threatens your relationship, it reveals the cracks that were already there. Friendship should be a safe place, not a space where you're constantly afraid of offending someone or carrying the emotional weight of the relationship. True friendship respects boundaries and grows from honesty. Some friendships become draining over time. The friend who always complains, the one who only calls when they need something, or the one who reacts negatively when you say no. You don't need to ghost or end friendships abruptly, but you can redefine them by clearly expressing what is and isn't acceptable. Friendship isn't about always being available. It's about being authentic when you are. Healthy boundaries with friends might include, I care about you, but I can't be your therapist. I need friends who also check in on me. I'm taking space from constant texting. I'll reply when I'm able. When you start to honor your energy, your circle may shrink, but the quality of your relationships will skyrocket. Workplace boundaries are some of the most neglected, yet vital, boundaries in modern life. In a world that glorifies hustle, saying no to overtime or setting limits with a boss can feel like career suicide. But burnout is not a badge of honor. Overcommitment is not loyalty. And silence in the face of disrespect is not professionalism. It's self-abandonment. Your career is a part of your life. It should never consume your identity or health. Work can be demanding, but it should never be dehumanizing. Healthy work boundaries sound like, I'm not available outside of work hours. I need clarity on expectations before taking on another task. I won't tolerate disrespect, even in high-pressure moments. These statements, delivered calmly and professionally, signal self-respect. Often, the workplace adjusts when you teach it how to treat you. Let's be honest, not everyone will applaud your new boundaries. In fact, the very people who benefited from your lack of them will be the ones who push back hardest. You might be accused of being cold, selfish, or difficult. Expect resistance, but know this: their discomfort is not a sign that you're wrong. It's a sign that something unhealthy is being challenged. Don't let the fear of backlash make you shrink. You are not responsible for managing others' discomfort with your growth. If setting boundaries upsets someone, that's a sign the boundary was needed. When facing pushback, stay calm. Don't defend or over-explain. Repeat your boundary simply. Remember that guilt is a reaction, not a verdict. Surround yourself with people who respect your growth. You'll know you're healing when peace feels less foreign than anxiety, and when you can say no without a tremble in your voice. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. People think it means going back to how things were. But forgiveness is not reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still set firm boundaries. You can release bitterness without inviting them back into your life. Forgiveness says, I let go of what you did, but I won't pretend it didn't happen. Boundaries after forgiveness are even more important. They protect you from re-entering cycles of harm. Forgiveness is a gift to yourself. Boundaries are the lock on the door that keeps healing safe. Boundaries aren't about building walls to shut people out. They're about building doors with locks. You get to decide who enters, how far they come in, and what access they get. It's not cruel, it's wise. Boundaries in relationships are where theory becomes reality. It's easy to say you want peace and self-respect, but the moment you draw that line, people reveal who they really are. And that's a gift. Some will honor your growth, some will fall away. But what remains, and what grows in place of what you lose, will be richer, deeper, and more aligned with the life you were meant to live.
Your soul deserves the same protection you offer to others. Guard it with grace. Boundaries are not just psychological tools or communication strategies, they are spiritual. At the core, a boundary is a declaration that your life is sacred, your purpose matters, and your energy is not available to be misused. Spiritual boundaries help you protect your inner life, the space where your deepest values, hopes, and beliefs live. Spiritual boundaries empower you to say, I will not sacrifice my peace to make others comfortable. I will not betray what I believe just to avoid rejection. Spiritual boundaries aren't about creating division. They are about alignment. When you feel pressure to compromise your values, whether it's in relationships, at work, or in society, spiritual boundaries help you stay anchored. You're allowed to believe differently. You're allowed to walk away from conversations or environments that mock your truth or violate your conscience. You're allowed to protect the space where your relationship with your creator or higher self resides. Boundaries are how you stay true to your soul in a world full of noise. Spiritual boundaries might look like declining to engage in gossip or negativity, saying no to commitments that conflict with your faith or values, taking quiet time each day to reconnect with what matters most. This isn't self-righteousness. It's spiritual self-respect. You're not superior, you're simply aware of what nourishes your spirit and what drains it. One of the hardest people to set boundaries with is yourself. You might be able to say no to others, but what about the voice in your head that says, one more scroll, or the habit of overcommitting and then burning out, or the tendency to replay mistakes over and over? Self-boundaries are about learning to regulate your own behavior, your time, thoughts, habits, and even your self-talk. Discipline isn't punishment, it's the highest form of self-love. Self-boundaries can include limiting screen time or social media to protect mental clarity, saying no to that third cup of coffee that keeps you up at night, choosing to speak kindly to yourself when you make a mistake, making time for movement, rest, or creativity even when you're busy. It's not about being perfect, it's about becoming trustworthy to yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation for confidence. Let's be honest, you won't get it right every time. You'll say yes when you meant no, you'll stay too long in a conversation that drains you, you'll overwork, overshare, or overexplain. That's okay. Boundaries aren't about perfection. They're about awareness and course correction. When you fall back into old patterns, the most important thing is not to beat yourself up. Guilt serves no purpose here. What matters is pausing, learning, and re-choosing your values. Every stumble is a lesson. Every lesson is a brick in the foundation of your new life. Steps to rebound from a boundary slip. Acknowledge it. I said yes when I didn't mean it. Forgive yourself. I'm still learning. That's okay. Reaffirm your boundary. Next time, I'll pause before responding. Communicate if needed. I've thought about it and I need to change my response. Growth is not linear. It's a winding path, but every step forward counts. Living with boundaries requires emotional maturity. You must become comfortable with discomfort, your own and others. You will have to let people be disappointed in you. You will have to sit in silence instead of chasing approval. You will have to trade short-term ease for long-term peace. That's the essence of adulthood, choosing truth over comfort and clarity over chaos. You'll notice your nervous system calming. You'll notice your decisions becoming more intentional. You'll stop second-guessing every interaction. That's because you're no longer reacting, you're responding from a place of inner authority. Maturity is not about controlling the world. It's about mastering your own presence in it. Signs of emotional maturity. You say no without guilt. You don't over-explain. You tolerate silence. You let go of people who can't respect your needs. You stop trying to fix others. And, most importantly, you no longer feel the need to apologize for existing. The challenge with boundaries isn't just setting them, it's maintaining them over time. Old habits die hard. People will test your consistency. You'll have moments of doubt. That's why boundaries aren't just a one-time decision, they're a way of life. What helps is building rhythms that reinforce your commitment to yourself. Weekly self-check-ins. Where did I honor myself this week? Where did I compromise? Journaling your wins and lessons. Practicing saying no in low-stakes situations. Surrounding yourself with boundary-respecting people. Repetition is what rewires your internal script. Over time, you'll stop justifying your boundaries. They'll become second nature. Boundaries don't make you rigid, they make you resilient. As you keep showing up for yourself, you'll begin to radiate calm strength. People will notice. Some may be drawn to it, some may distance themselves. Either way, you're living in alignment. You'll feel it in your body. Less anxiety, less fatigue, less resentment. You'll feel it in your relationships. More honesty, more safety, and more mutual respect. This is the reward for doing the hard, holy work of honoring your own soul. Boundaries are not a trend or a technique. They are a lifelong journey of inner alignment. They are how you protect the sacred space where your dreams, your faith, your peace, and your potential reside. You are allowed to protect your life. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to be free.
Freedom isn't found in rebellion. It's found in responsibility. Boundaries are how you claim both. You've learned to say no without guilt. You've felt the weight of old roles fall off your shoulders. You've tasted the peace that comes from standing firm. But now what? Boundaries aren't a one-time fix. They are a life practice, like breathing, like prayer, like growth. They are the quiet rhythm behind a strong, grounded life. Once you've embraced them, you'll never want to go back. Remember the version of yourself that never paused, that said yes out of fear, stayed silent to avoid conflict, and lived on the edge of resentment? That version of you was surviving. But now you are learning to live. With boundaries in place, you create room to rest without shame, to speak without trembling, and to act from integrity instead of anxiety. Your calendar reflects your values, your relationships are honest, your body begins to heal from chronic stress, and your soul, once exhausted, begins to bloom. A peaceful life is not found, it is built, one boundary at a time. Where once your life felt like an open door for anyone to enter, it now feels like a home with clear walls, strong locks, and a warm, welcoming threshold. You've become the guardian of your time, energy, and truth. And in doing so, you've created space for joy. Boundaries don't just protect you, they instruct others. Your life becomes a silent syllabus. You teach people that your time is valuable, that your voice matters, that your presence is a gift, not an obligation. And over time, others follow your lead. You begin to attract people who communicate directly, who honor your no, who want depth over control. This is how new cultures are created, not through confrontation, but through consistent clarity. When you stop chasing love and start respecting yourself, you change what you're willing to accept, and that changes everything. You'll stop needing to be liked by everyone. You'll stop shrinking to make others feel comfortable. Instead, you'll walk into rooms with quiet confidence, knowing your value is not up for negotiation. The boundaries you set today ripple into the future. They affect your children, your team, your community. They create environments where truth is spoken, rest is honored, and love is clean, not codependent. Your children don't need a parent who sacrifices everything to keep the peace. They need a parent who models peace by choosing what is right, not just what is easy. They need to see that saying no is not rejection, it's wisdom. That self-respect is the seed of healthy love. The most powerful legacy you can leave is one of integrity, not just achievement. And boundaries are how that legacy is built. Teach your children to respect themselves, not just to obey. Teach them boundaries, and you teach them how to love without losing themselves. One of the final strongholds to fall on the boundaries journey is the craving for approval. It runs deep. It's been there since childhood, a whisper in your ear that says, be good, be nice, be agreeable. But here's the truth. The version of you that is constantly adjusting to stay liked is not the real you. The real you has edges, has opinions, has moments of silence, has moments of fierce courage. The real you is not always available. The real you will disappoint people who expect you to be their solution. But the real you is also honest, peaceful, powerful, and deeply magnetic. You weren't born to be agreeable. You were born to be real. Let people be wrong about you. Let them call you different or too much. What matters is that you know the truth. And the truth is, you are no longer living in survival mode. You are no longer a character in someone else's play. You are the author now, the lead, the one who draws the lines and writes the scenes. When you are clear about your limits, you are finally free to live your purpose. You cannot say yes to your calling while saying yes to everything else. You cannot write your book, build your business, raise your family with intention, or rest in peace if your life is dictated by other people's demands. Boundaries carve the path toward your higher calling. They give your energy direction. They create silence so you can hear the voice of God, your intuition, or your deepest truth again. This is not about self-protection. This is about divine permission. You are not here to please everyone. You are here to become who you were always meant to be. Say yes to your calling. Say yes to your future. Say yes to a life that reflects your values, not your fears. And let your no be just as sacred as your yes. Boundaries aren't about isolation. They're about clarity. They don't create enemies. They reveal what was real. They don't make you cold. They make you calm. And they don't shrink your world. They expand it by freeing you from guilt, confusion, and silent suffering. You are no longer trapped by the need to fix, please, or prove. You are free, free to rest, free to be honest, free to walk away, free to stay grounded, free to live with purpose. This is what it means to be whole. Boundaries aren't about keeping others out. They're about letting your true self in. May you learn to say no without apology. May your yes be fueled by joy, not obligation. May your soul feel safe inside your body. May your voice return to you stronger than ever. May your boundaries protect your brilliance and make space for it to grow. You have walked through the fire of self-denial, people-pleasing, and burnout. Now you walk with a new flame, one that lights your path without burning you out. Let your life be an example of what it looks like to love others fiercely, without abandoning yourself. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. You are sacred. You are wise. You are finally free.